So you know about the access modifiers. Now let me teach you about this keyword right here called static. Now in Java, this keyword simply means that this property, or if it's a method, or if it's a class, or anything that has this keyword attached to it, belongs to the class and not the instance itself. Again, belongs to the class and not the instance itself. Now, this probably will not make that much sense because as we transition to objects, I will further explain this keyword right here. But for now, all I want you to know is that if something is static, it belongs to the class itself. So what do I mean? So have a look in here. Remember this property called foo right here. So it's a string. So let's see where this is used. So I'm going to press command, click on it, and it's been referenced within Apple and foo. And you can see the keyboard shortcut. So let's just go to foo.java and have a look. So the way that we get access to foo is by saying main. So main right here is the name of the class. So I said anything that has the keyword static in it, it belongs to the class itself and not the instance. So if it belongs to the class, the way that you access is by first typing the class name. So main.foo and then dot whatever method or variable. So in our case, let's have a look. So here I'm going to say main dot, and you can see that we have main.main and main.foo. So if I just for a second remove this and go back to main in here, and if I just basically remove static from here, I want you to see something. You can see that now we have two related problems. Why? Because this property right here no longer belongs to the class itself, but instead it belongs to the instance. So what do I mean? So if this still doesn't make sense, so instances, don't worry because we're going to cover objects later. But if I go back to foo and have a look, now I cannot access this because it doesn't belong to the class itself. But instead, what I need to do is I need to say main, and then I'm going to say m equals to new, and then main, just like that. And now I can say m.foo. Have a look. Now I can say m.foo. So now it belongs to the instance. So this right here, it's an instance. It's an object from the class main. So hopefully now this is starting to make a little bit more sense. Now, why this is important? So in here, let's go back to main. And also we have another problem. So let's just basically say static for now. And if I go back, so you can see that this now is pointless because this belongs to the class itself. So I can just say that, and I can get rid of this if I want. But I'm going to leave that so that you can have for reference. But if I go back to main in here and check this out. So this is public. You've learned about public. Static. This is what you're learning right now. And void main. So we haven't covered methods in detail, but we will later. But basically this is saying that this method right here belongs to the class itself and not the instance. Now I'm going to teach you exactly this method in detail, how it works and why it needs to be public static. But for now, I want you to remember about the access modifiers and static as well. So if it's static, the way that you access, if it's a method in here, so this is a method or a property in here, is by saying the name of the class dot and then whatever property you have. Now, one important thing that is, if I go back to main for a second, so this main in here, and have a look, we have public static. So if I try to use foo, so if I say south and then foo in here, this works. So static, and this is also static. But if I say, for example here, if I say brand, so let's just have a brand, and I'm going to say amigos code. Here I'm going to remove the keyword static, and I want you to see something. If I try to use brand, I'm going to say south brand. So have a look. So this doesn't work. So if I say brand, this does not work. So within a static context, you are only allowed to use anything which has a static keyword to it. So here, this doesn't have static, therefore cannot be used within this static method. So the way you do it again is by saying main. So you need an object. So m equals to new main. And now I can say m dot and then brand. And this works now. So just be cautious. So for now, I think we're just going to use statics all around, but then you'll see better ways of doing it. So you might be wondering, okay, so this is basically non-static. Why is it not working within this method in here? It's because it's not static. And the way to use it is if you create an instance, which is what we did here. So the same, so in here, let's just have a method. In here, let's just say public and then void foo. So just like that, I just want you to type this. Don't worry about this because we haven't covered methods in detail, but here, have a look. So if I try to use foo, so just call foo, this does not work. Why? Because I'm within a static context. So this method here, static. And the only way that I can access this is by saying m.foo, or I need to put this as static. There we go. And now you can see that I can access this without having to create an instance of it. And if it has a static keyword, you know that it belongs to the class itself. So within the class itself, you just call it within a static context, and you don't need to say in here main.foo. There's no need because you already are within main. So this is pretty much all I want to teach you about statics and access modifiers and whatnot. But we'll come back to this. I'll give you further examples so that you understand how all of this works. But I think right now we are starting to build our foundation about this awesome programming language. If you have any questions, drop a message. Otherwise, let's move on.